Hello everyone, it's a great day to learn something new. So let's get started. Now before starting the actual video, let's break down the word brachial plexus. Coming to the word plexus, what does a plexus mean? So normally a plexus can be said to be a bunch of nerves. So when a lot of nerves come together and get entangled, lie together, it's called as a plexus. Now what is brachial? So brachial refers to the area in which the brachial plexus lies. So the brachial area is around the shoulder joint and this area. So this is the area where the brachial plexus lies. So is there only one plexus in our body? The answer is no. We have actually 4 plexuses in our body corresponding to the 4 spinal segments. So the first one is the cervical plexus. Second is the thoracic or the brachial plexus. Third is the lumbar plexus. And the fourth is the sacral plexus. So in this video we're going to learn about the brachial plexus. So when you saw the topic, you must be thinking that this is going to be a very complicated video or a very complicated topic, but it's not so. Actually, the topic brachial plexus scares many people, including me when I was in first year, but it's actually very easy if we try to break it down and learn. So I'll show you how. The brachial plexus consists of roots, trunks, divisions, cords and branches. So what are the roots? The roots refer to the spinal segments from which the nerves arise. So the C5, C6, C7, C8 and T1 nerve roots form the brachial plexus. Now these nerve roots combine to form the trunks. But in what fashion? So the C5, C6 combine to form the upper trunk. The C7 alone forms the middle trunk, whereas the C8 and T1 nerve roots form the lower trunk. The trunks further divide into divisions. How? They are divided into anterior and posterior divisions. But note that the divisions are anterior posterior for the upper trunk, anterior posterior for the middle trunk, but for the lower trunk it gets reversed, that is the posterior anterior. Okay, so the divisions are anterior posterior, anterior posterior and posterior anterior. Now the divisions combine to form the cords, but how? So the posterior divisions of all the 3 trunks, that is the upper trunk, middle trunk and the lower trunk, combine to form the posterior cord. You can see here. Okay, so the anterior division of the upper and the middle trunk combine to form the lateral cord. Now the anterior division alone of the lower trunk combines to form the medial cord. So 3 cords are formed. The posterior divisions of all the 3 trunks form the posterior cord. Anterior division of the upper and middle trunk forms the lateral cord, whereas anterior division alone of the lower trunk forms the medial cord. Now coming to the branches, each cord gives rise to a number of individual nerves that supply a number of muscles. So the lateral cord gives rise to 3 branches, that is, you can remember it as L, M, M. The L refers to lateral pectoral nerve, M is musculocutaneous nerve and median nerve. So these 3 branches are given by the lateral cord. The median cord gives rise to M, 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 U. So the M refers to medial pectoral nerve, medial root of median nerve, medial cutaneous nerve of arm, medial cutaneous nerve of forearm and the ulnar nerve. So these are the branches of the medial cord. The posterior cord gives rise to branches called star, that is the subscapular nerve, the thoracic nerve, axillary nerve and lastly the radial nerve. In the brachial plexus, these are the terminal branches, but there are a few nerves that arise from other places in the brachial plexus other than the terminal branches. So which are these nerves? The first one is the suprascapular nerve that arises here in the region of the upper trunk. Second is the nerve to the subscapularis that arises from this region. Another nerve that arises from the root values of C5, C6 and C7, as you can see here, is the nerve to serratus anterior. The last nerve that arises from the roots is formed by the C5, C6, C7 and C8. That is the nerve to the longus colli and scalene muscles. Now coming to the clinical aspects of brachial plexus. What happens if there is an injury to the brachial plexus? So there are two main types of deformities that arise when there is an injury to the brachial plexus. Let's go to the first one. That's the Erb's paralysis. Why is it called the Erb's paralysis? That is because this deformity happens when there is injury to a specific point on the brachial plexus called as the Erb's point. So where is the Erb's point located? It is located in the upper trunk of the brachial plexus. The causes for Erb's paralysis. First one is birth injury. Second is fall on the shoulder. In this, the majorly affected nerve root is the C5 and C6 is affected to some extent. Now, what are the muscles that are affected? So, the biceps, the deltoid, the brachialis and the brachioradialis are the major muscles affected. The minor muscles affected are the supraspinatus, infraspinatus and the supinator muscle. So, what is the position of the hand in a patient of Erb's paralysis? The shoulder is adducted and internally rotated. The forearm is extended and pronated, whereas the wrist joint is flexed. The next deformity is called as Klumpke's paralysis. So it is a deformity of especially the lower trunk of the brachial plexus. The nerve roots that are affected are the T1 is mainly affected and the C8 is affected to some extent. The muscles affected in Klumpke's paralysis are the intrinsic muscles of the hand and the flexors that are supplied by the ulnar nerve. So the position of the hand is like this, where there is extension at the metacarpophalangeal joint and flexion at both the IP joints. Okay, and there is a sensory loss over the area supplied by the ulnar nerve. There is also paresthesia and loss of sweating. Now this serratus anterior nerve, that is a part of the brachial plexus, is affected, then what is the deformity that occurs? If the serratus anterior nerve is affected, then there is winging of scapula. The pushing or punching movements that we do are usually affected, so the patient cannot do the pushing and punching movements. When does this occur? When there is a downward pressure on the shoulder or there is a history of carrying heavy loads on the shoulder.